I guess, old timer baseball guys, talk about how the game has changed, right? They always talk about how the game has changed, and it has changed. Actually, rules have changed. I mean, we know a lot, but just as far as like the players, the mentality of the players have changed, and different things like this. And I don't know if you saw this video of Joe Maddon talking about this, and I'd be just curious to get your feedback and your opinion on this as well.
I think I did. I'm just seeing that just clip without hearing it. I think I did.
Have you seen this before?
I believe everybody wants to be like everybody else in today's world, in today's game. I really believe in the individuality of the group. I think part of the problem is that the game's not being passed down from generation to generation right now by actually former players or former coaches, guys that have been there, done that, guys that are proven great instructors, teachers. A lot of the coaches these days are coming from places, Driveline and things of that nature. These are today's gurus. I'm here to tell you, man, if I'm starting a group tomorrow, definitely got Larry Bow in that group. Absolutely. I don't care how old Larry Bow is. We need people to pass the game down, to have it played properly. Guys have to be told when they're screwing up, doing things wrong. I think you could watch a lot of games today, and I keep getting queried about, did you see how sloppy the play was? Now, listen, you could have sloppy play with the best instructors in the world. I'm not arguing that. But the game has devolved into the point where everybody's after their own brand and a show me kind of a thing, as opposed to playing this team concept that's individualized by the Dodgers or the Cardinals or the Pirates of the past, which I loved. And I thought the Angels in the 90s and early 2000s, we had an identity. I thought the Rays, when we got to the Rays, we established an identity. Those are the kind of things that's never talked about anymore. It's all based on analytical data and a sameness. Everybody wants sameness when it comes down to draft. And furthermore, there are no minor leagues anymore. That's been so watered down. I'm here to tell you, man, if under these circumstances, I'd never get an opportunity to eventually do what I did, because I would have never been placed in a minor league system for the period of time to get the kind of experience I needed to establish becoming a coach, manager, etc. So none of that stuff's ever discussed, but that to me, that bothers me. I mean,
you could stop it there. That's kind of the gist of it. What's kind of your feedback on what he just said?
I mean, I can agree to some of it. Of course, it's just a personal opinion, but
Sure.
Just from the coaching standpoint, one thing that I've noticed, because coaching can be good no matter where you come from. I'm not going to discredit anybody from like that, but what can't do is sometimes is the respect of been there, done that. And I don't want to take away from say, oh, just because I've been there, done that, I can teach at a grade level. That I don't mean that at all. What I mean is like when you want to say something to a veteran player, you better be able to kind of have something, to kind of back that up. So I look at myself as a coach, as a dad. I mean, I call my sons out. I mean, probably not as hard as probably I needed to if they had a tough coach, but I look at as players know that I'm going to be brutally honest, and whether they like that truth or not, they're going to get it. And I think that sometimes when you don't have the experience of something like that, maybe you're just trying to fit in, or you're just trying to appease, and you're not willing to say the tough things. And I think that's what I needed as a coach from a guy like Buck Showalter. I needed that from Phil Gardner. I needed that from Cito Gaston. And so for me, even some of the times I didn't like those guys, I love what they did for me.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be a coach that was willing to say the tough things and sometimes be able to maybe accept some of the how do I put it? The not so good feeling of when it comes back at you. But I'll give you an example with Nato. I don't think I've ever been as hard on a player last year, not just this past season. I was the year before, and other than Yasiel Puig, and I was like, I said, I'm gonna lose this guy. I'm challenging him so hard. I'm so hard on him. And we were in Toronto this year, and he thanked me. Really? I was like, man, I thought I would never hear those words. And so that I'll get emotional about it because I care enough to say the tough things. And I think that's what Joe's trying to say, man. It's like, can you say the tough things to these guys? Because, man, nobody on this earth can elevate themselves to the highest level without people challenging them. Mm-hmm. I need people to challenge me. You need people to challenge them. The greatest players in the world need someone to challenge them. And I think that's the hard part about coaching, because you have to be able to say the tough things.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's so, and I think that goes beyond even baseball too, right? I mean, I know for my own personal life, some of my best friends are the ones that are willing to challenge me if they see something that's not lining up with whatever my life or whatever it may be. They feel comfortable enough to speak into my life and call me out on the things that I need to be called out on. And because of that relationship that we've built over time, but they're doing it because they care about me.
Exactly.
Right. And I think what an incredible moment for him to say thank you, especially if you hadn't heard that from him all the way coming up to kind of realize that, man, he knows I care about him. That's probably what that means to you.
Exactly. And that's kind of part of my philosophy. I stole my philosophy from a couple of really good dudes. John Wooden, he says, a player won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I stole that one from when I got into coaching, and I can literally, I can understand that from the coaches, like my college coach, Coach Kittrell, Coach Larker, Buck Showalter. I mean, their DNA actually kind of came into me. It's like I wanted them a part of who I was as a coach. Mm-hmm. So, and the other one was from Jesus. In Luke 6:40, Jesus said, he goes, a disciple is not above his teacher, but when fully trained, he will become like his teacher. Okay, so I turn it into baseball terms. Yeah. A player is not above his coach, but when he's fully trained, he will become like his coach. So I know this. Coach Kittrell, I just got to speak at one of his classes. He's teaching college. He was probably one of the most influential persons in my life. I'm able to say that he impacted me in a way. He lives within me. Just like Christ lives within us. He is a mentor, teacher, coach for us. I want to be that mentor, teacher, coach for the players. So it's important to me. It's a philosophy. You have to be willing to, to stand on something that's so solid that you're willing to be fired for. And those are two things that I'm willing to be fired for.
Yeah, and that's something. What good advice for any level. Any level coaching. This is not just.
It works everywhere.
Yeah, I was saying what you just said is good if you're coaching the little league team, volunteer coaching, getting paid to coach some travel team, or at the big league level. It's all relationship based,
yes.
Right? I mean, that's the best coaches are relationship builders, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Right? You mentioned Buck Showalter, and I wanted to ask you, what was that experience like? With Buck, was that earlier in his managerial career?
Yeah, because I got drafted right out of college, went to Oneonta, New York, and Buck Showalter was my manager my first year in pro ball, and he called me out on a couple of things. And the next year in A ball, we only lost 18 games that half season.
Oh wow!
Oh man, it was like a great team. The next year, Fort Lauderdale, we won it, the Florida State League, and man, I was a fiery type player. I mean, I was, I played hard and expected a lot. And I remember I made an out one time, and I remember I shouldn't say the last time, but the second to last time I ever threw a helmet, because I did it in A-ball and I did it in the big leagues once. But I threw my helmet, and it hit a hop skip towards the dugout and hit him right between the legs. So that was really, really the last time I threw one in the intent of very much frustration. So he grabbed me up. I'm taller than Buck, and he grabbed me up like this and thought I was going to be released.
That helmet was probably bouncing in slow motion for you.
Oh, it was. I was like, here.
No. The worst. That's so funny. I agree with what you said on your opinion of that too. I think that I think back on it, although he did play professional baseball, but like one of the best managers, like a Jim Leland, didn't really have a successful playing career necessarily. And I think he's talked about this a lot too. And but a phenomenal coach, right? So he didn't have to play in the big leagues for 20 years in order to get the respect from. I mean, he's up there next to Barry Bonds. I mean, that you ever seen that video of him just like laying into Barry Bonds, and but phenomenal coach and relationship. He was my father's first manager. He has similar thing to you, Buck Showalter. My dad's first year playing pro ball was Jim Leland's first year managing.
Oh wow!
And with the Tigers organization, and even back then, my dad always talks about how it was relationship building, and he was one of the best at just knowing every single guy in that team and just kind of building the relationship so he could, because he was hard on his guys, but so he could be hard on his guys, and he received it well because of those relationships. So I think that's so true. If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this content valuable.